Do you feel like your brain isn't working as well as it used to? Like maybe 10 years ago, 20 years ago, you felt sharper, and now you're concerned about brain health and what's going on. Well, I'm here to tell you, A, you're not alone. And B, there is something you can do about that. There is a brain body fitness connection. And today I am delighted to be talking with Jeannie Oliver, who is a colleague of mine. She is a functional nutrition coach plus a whole bunch of other certifications. And she is going to talk with us today about the things that we can do to connect the pieces for fitness and nutrition and your brain health. Jeannie, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Mira. I'm excited to talk about this. It's a subject that I'm passionate about it. It's close to my heart. So thanks for having me.
And I feel like it's, as we age, I think a lot of people go, oh, I'm just getting older. And they accept what they think are cognitive declines, but they're not really cognitive declines. They're just brain dissonance. So I would love for you to sort of share how you got into this before we dive into what we can do about it.
Sure. So I am literally at the time of recording turning 50 in 2 weeks. And as I've started the whole process, I've seen, my own challenges arise, but I'm also at an age, as many of my clients are, where I'm dealing with aging parents. And I have several clients whose parents do have Alzheimer's or dementia. And, middle age brings so many wonderful things to us, but the aging parents is one of the aspects that is really, really challenging and can be heartbreaking. So this is a major concern. We're in this place where we're seeing these shifts go on in the older generation, but we're also at an age where we can still really do some preventative things to help fortify ourselves and set ourselves up for better brain health as we age. And I kind of break those down into 4 major categories. And for women, this is especially crucial because women are diagnosed, or women suffer from dementia or Alzheimer's twice as many women as men. So this is a real problem that needs to be addressed. And as our estrogen starts to decline throughout perimenopause, and then once we reach menopause, there are actual changes in our brain that take place. So you're not imagining it. Like, these are cognitive changes, but the beautiful thing is that we don't have to walk into this in a disempowered state. Like, oh, this is just aging, I have to accept it. We now know that there are so many things that we can do to be proactive, to protect our brains, our cognitive health, which is really exciting. So these sort of 4 categories that I talk about are sleep, stress management, movement, and nutrition. Not necessarily in that order, because they're all crucial, and depending on the person, one may be more important for you than the other. But those, I believe, are the most crucial things that we need to pay attention to.
Yeah, that's huge. And I think, as I said at the beginning, we are somehow led to believe that we just have to accept this and that nothing we do can really make a difference. And I love when I get to talk with people like you who share that there really are some very, very concrete things that we can do to support our body and to help reclaim some of that processing power. And, I will share one of the things I see with a lot of people that I think is hugely important is that we're so focused on all the other people in our lives that we put ourselves last. And we don't stop to take the time to look at what needs to happen in order to support ourselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I was going to say, as the ingredient guru, I, of course, devolve a lot towards food. I think food is hugely important. So I'd love it if we could talk for just a second about what are some of the things that we can do to really nourish our body for brain health, to help keep things operating the way they're supposed to.
Yes, absolutely. So let's kick this off by mentioning that within the functional medicine community now, they're calling Alzheimer's disease type 3 diabetes. So we now see a direct correlation between insulin resistance and cognitive decline, Alzheimer's disease. So this is a big thing. So blood sugar regulation is really a crucial piece of this. Eating a low glycemic diet is a very foundational piece to this. And what I mean when I say low glycemic is eating foods that are not giving you a big blood sugar spike and subsequent crash, right? So every time we eat something that really causes an increase in blood sugar, we're producing insulin to shuttle that sugar into our cells and bring that blood sugar back down to regulate us, right? So if we're
Right.
constantly eating things that are spiking our blood sugar up, that insulin is really active, and your cell receptors can actually become resistant to that. Say,
Mhm.
hey, sorry, the inn is full. We're not opening up the door anymore. So you think of it like a
Yeah.
lock and key. And so I would say first start by eating nutrient dense food.
Mhm.
Nutrient dense meaning vegetables, plenty of fiber, fresh vegetables, preferably not mostly non-starchy ones. So not necessarily those starchy vegetables like white potatoes or high sugar things.
Corn.
Right, exactly, which is actually a grain. But yeah, we want to eat plenty of vegetables, good quality protein, healthy fats, and then
Mhm.
including any carbs or starches that are preferred minimally or unprocessed, right? Because
And
those are going to have
complex.
less,
We
correct,
also want
complex
complex
carbohydrates.
carbs. Sure. Yeah.
Yes,
That makes
because
sense.
those come with a little more fiber and protein and all these things that can kind of buffer that blood sugar response. So starting with those nutrient dense foods is crucial because it's going to decrease your craving for all of the sort of higher glycemic, more sugary, more starchy, maybe more processed foods, right? So you're
Mhm.
making it easier on yourself by just boosting the nutrient density quality of your food. Second, I would say the order of which you eat your foods matters. Start with
Mm.
your vegetables and protein, because the fiber and the protein will actually mitigate that blood sugar response. And we can see that by studies that show, continuous glucose monitor
Sure.
results. We can see that, let's say someone's going to eat white rice. If they eat it on an empty stomach, they have a massive glucose spike versus if they've got, their vegetables and protein first or have a little salad first, that response is much, much lower and less dramatic. So that's going to really help maintain that insulin sensitivity, which is what we want. So those are the crucial things. And I think, when it comes to nutrient density, if we're going to talk about specific foods or ingredients that are really brain supportive, protein is a big one. Most women do not eat enough protein, and we actually need more as we age, not less. People tend to eat less because their digestive fire or their ability to break it down tends to decrease as we age. So they feel like it sits in their stomach like a rock. Hey, there's digestive enzymes for this. You can help boost that digestive fire so you can break down those proteins. We really, really need it. It's important for brain health. So if you have to supplement with protein to get enough of that, great. Collagen, a high quality, really clean protein powder can help with that. Just trying to incorporate it into every meal is really, really good. I always say shoot for like 30 to 50 grams per meal. Fish oils are the next one. The omega-3 fish oils are so brain protective. We actually have seen some clinical trials now showing that people that take higher doses of fish oils or omega-3s after a traumatic brain injury have dramatically better recovery. So that's another really, really big one that can make a difference. And then antioxidant foods, right? So you're colorful, like I always say, eat the rainbow. Try to eat really colorful, a broad spectrum of colors in your vegetables and your fruits. And the more saturated those colors are, usually the richer that they are in antioxidants.
And I love that you're talking about the rainbow, because one of the things I have been seeing with my clients over time is that everyone knows they need more vegetables, but they're devolving to just the greens.
Yes.
And they're forgetting that there's like purple and red and yellow and orange, like all these other colors, and that white can be a color of the rainbow too. We have cauliflower and
So powerful.
parsnips and like all of these other
Mushrooms. Yeah.
really mushrooms. Yes, absolutely. So I love that. I almost sometimes feel like we need to pretend we're kids and I used to work in a pediatrician's office, and we would have these little charts for the kids to how much they ate in the color of the rainbow each week, and they
Yeah.
put like a little star or a sticker or something. I feel like the grownups need that too.
Oh, we absolutely do. We absolutely do. I think that, and then there's also this sort of misconception of, eating like a child, like kids have to have these sort of processed kid
Oh,
foods. And really,
absolutely.
if you start them early, their body is going to start to crave the things that nourish them the best. And one of the most fun ways that families can get their kids into eating vegetables is to say, hey, okay, here's a color that you're assigned at the grocery store or the farmer's market. Like, go find a vegetable or a fruit that's that color, or let them choose the color and go search it out. Get them involved in prepping, because if they help, they usually want to try it, right?
Sure, absolutely. I think it's never too young to start or too old. Like it's never too
Right.
late to change your diet also. Just because you ate a certain way doesn't mean you can't change.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, one of the other things that you bring to the table, you are a certified personal trainer. And so I have to believe that learning how to add a nutrient dense, low glycemic diet not only helps brain health, but also helps physical health, which means we can then do fitness things. So can you talk about how having the right kinds of fitness or the right level of physical activity can also help support brain health?
Absolutely. And boy, I could talk about this for hours. So I'm going to try to condense it as much as possible. But I want to lead by telling you that being sedentary increases risk of dementia by 30%. That's a really staggering number. It doesn't mean you have to become a gym rat, right? In fact, so when you mention it's never too late to start, I want to really speak to your viewers and listeners that are in midlife or earlier. It's never too late. You can start at any point, but it's especially helpful if you get started before or during midlife, because we find that that's actually when these changes start to take place that can manifest these cognitive dysfunction symptoms later in life. It's not a disease of old age. It starts much earlier, sometimes decades earlier. And your fitness level in midlife, we know, is strongly correlated with your brain health later. So again, being physically fit in midlife, it decreases that risk by 30%. So you can literally, undo or prevent this damage by a 30% ratio. It's huge. It's so exciting. And while high intensity workouts definitely have their benefits for sure, it's actually low to moderate intensity workouts that are most protective or most neuroprotective for the brain that we're finding now. So that's kind of exciting. This would include things like walking, hiking, weight training. Weight training is huge. We're going to get a little more into that next. Tennis, swimming. So you don't have to suddenly, be doing these super high intensity, high impact workouts to get the benefits.
Sure.
It's literally just moving your body. And strength training is probably the very best thing that you can do. And I would put that into that medium intensity category. So many people are concerned about weight loss and they're trying to eat less and exercise more, which honestly is a recipe for disaster. We can lose up to 58 lean muscle mass.
Wow.
58% of our total weight loss if we're doing a severely calorie restricted diet. So that is not ideal because muscle is your metabolic currency.
Right.
Muscle is highly metabolic tissue and it's designed to uptake a lot of that glucose. So just increasing the number of muscle cells in your body increases your insulin sensitivity. All right. So I always encourage people to stop thinking about dieting and start thinking about adding muscle because it can have benefits for both sides of this equation. The more muscle you have, the more calories you require just to be alive every day. So you're actually increasing metabolic rate. Versus if you are losing muscle, which we do naturally as we age, we have to really try to counteract that muscle loss. We want to preserve lean muscle. So if we're losing that through a diet, yeah, your weight on the scale might go down, but you're actually doing metabolic damage and you're doing yourself a disservice for your brain health.
And so, one interesting question that comes to mind, we're talking about strength training, and I know a lot of people maybe don't pay any attention to it, and then all of a sudden they get to a certain age and realize that maybe they need to work on that. I'm assuming that you're not talking about like go to the gym and all of a sudden learn how to bench press massive amounts of weight and, do all kinds of reps. It's more about consistent level that works your muscle. Because obviously we don't want to, like I could sit there and do 1 pound weights all day long, but maybe not going to be as effective as if I do something a little bit heavier. It's about consistent working effort, not excessive effort. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct. That said, your muscles are going to adapt quickly, right? So if you're doing that same weight over and over and over, it's no longer going to be a challenge. You're not going to have that adaptation of increased muscle. So as something becomes easy, I always tell people, look, if you can do more than 15 reps, it's time to increase your weight. Obviously, getting your form down, I usually recommend people work with the trainer at least once at first before they start a program so that they know that they're doing the movements correctly. But I'm a huge fan of resistance bands or like the resistance tubing with the handle on the ends. You can keep that in your desk. You can, there's a little door attachment that you can attach them to. Any exercise you can do on a cable machine, you can do with a resistance band. It's free weights or dumbbells if you're not used to working out that way. And I'm a huge fan of what I call exercise snacking. So if you're someone like many of my clients who are extremely busy, they don't necessarily have an hour to spend on a workout or even a half an hour on certain days. So guess what? Just do some exercise snacking. If you can get in 10 squats, body weight squats next to your desk, take the, single flight of stairs, fit that in, get your band and do a few bicep curls or, shoulder presses, whatever that might be, that's all really, really helpful. And it counts. You don't have to necessarily do something, consecutive
Massive.
30 to
I
60
love that.
minutes.
I love that concept of exercise snacking. I do a little bit of that sometimes, but I can see, I mean, that just sounds so great. I think I'm going to have to add in more.
Yeah.
Jeannie, this has been great. It's been so wonderful to talk with you, to learn about nutrient-dense foods, and obviously being mindful about glycemic index as well, watching our sugars and the whole fitness thing, making sure that we are moving our bodies. I love, love, love that tip for exercise snacking. That's fabulous. So thank you so much for being here. For
My pleasure.
everyone who is watching, I will make sure to put Jeannie's information down below and a link to where you can connect with her. So thank you for being part of this, for watching. And I want to encourage you to remember in all you do to make today a healthy day. Bye, folks.